Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the dark side of Aquarius, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing I look at, as far as any really strong negative expression or negative manifestation of the sign Aquarius, well, first thing that I see about them is that they could be very aloof. A lot of this is connected, I believe, with them being rather emotionally detached. Aquarius can be very averse to strong emotional connections with somebody. I mean, if Aquarius tells you they love you and it's on like a significant other or romantic level or what have you, then you can rest assured it's probably true, because those can be words that they may have a hard time expressing towards somebody because of the fear of that strong emotional connection. And I think a lot of times with Aquarius, what happens is they may, in some instances, in isolated, real negative expression of the sign, could be when they do become close to somebody, it might put them in a state of trepidation. Uh, they might maybe respond to this by maybe acting like they don't like the person that much, because they really just don't really always want to face something like this. And the thing about Aquarius, too, as far as a strong negative expression of this sign, could be, well, just a general unpredictable behavior. And what happens is this could catch people off guard, friends or what have you, and what it can do is it can rebuff others to some degree. I had a friend of mine with Aquarius rising. I remember one time he was driving me around in the neighborhood going to stores or whatever, and he unpredictably drove up a grass hill in order to get into the parking area of a supermarket. And I thought, I mean, it really caught me off guard, but perhaps I wasn't as surprised as maybe I could have been. I mean, when I look back, because I mean, he has an Aquarius rising, so I mean, that's very unpredictable type behavior. There was another time the same Aquarius Ascendant person, when he was telling me a story that he was in a movie theater one time and he saw two men in front of him. They were kissing and he felt offended by it. Apparently, I guess it was a gay couple, and he was taken aback by it or whatever. And he asked them at least one time nicely if they could stop doing it, and they wouldn't do it. So what he did was he wound up punching them when they kissed and their mouths met. He threw a punch and hit and connected on both of their mouths when that happened. And when I mean, a lot of times I wouldn't believe something like that, but considering he has an Aquarius Ascendant, I kind of give more credibility to that story. I mean, as odd and really bizarre as that sounds, I really believe he may very well have done that. And the thing about Aquarius, too, another dark side of them, is their very paradoxical nature. And Aquarius is a sign, I mean, full of paradoxes. They can be very progressive in thought, but yet they are very adamant and rather intransigent regarding their own beliefs, and are often very hard to waver from those beliefs. And another thing with Aquarius, as far as any strong dark side of this sign, is the fact that, well, despite them having a really congenial and amiable disposition, given that it is an air sign, they could be more intractable and more stubborn, more obstinate than they may give someone on a first impression. Because being an air sign, they could be very friendly. Aquarians often are very humanitarian instincts, very selfless. But what it is when you really get to know Aquarius, you could really see this really strong, intractable, intransigent nature. And even if it's something where you might be trying to help them at times and doing something in a way where it would go along easier as opposed to a harder method, a lot of times they will stubbornly resist and saying, well, no, it's going to be my way, and that's basically it. And the thing about Aquarius too is that keep in mind that Capricorn often falls on the 12th house cusp of Aquarius chart in a solar or natal chart. And Aquarians can have an aversion or anathema to responsibility. I'm not stereotyping all Aquarians that they can't handle responsibility. They are a fixed sign. They could have a lot of tenacity and persistence and determination. Can often apply that to things connected with responsibility, such as their work life. However, Aquarians really are not always strongly about responsibility because of that Capricorn often being on that 12th house cusp in a solar or natal chart, because a lot of times they like to do things when they want to do it. It's a sign that is strongly associated with freedom, with independence, and wanting to do things when they want to do. They also can have a very strong aversion to, say, a regimented schedule. They like to do, the thing that they may be consistent about is being inconsistent in terms of being somewhere a certain time, going to certain places at a certain time. They just or doing things at a certain time. They don't like to have something that's going to be overly consistent, and because it might seem monotonous. And really there's generally may not be much wrong with this, but say if Aquarius is in a significant other relationship, and they're in a situation where somebody is dependent on them to be at a certain place, a certain time, being punctual, being timely. Well, Aquarius might let that person down, so it could be detrimental to the relationship. And Aquarius is really the quintessential nonconformist. They just often don't want to conform to what society wants. And Capricorn being on the 12th house, I think, has a lot to do with that. As I said, in many instances in the solar natal chart, Capricorn will be on that house cusp. And the thing about it is, Capricorn is a sign that likes to adhere to rules often and regulations. Capricorn on the 12th, though, is such where Aquarius really does not want to do that. They are a sign too that keep in mind, Aquarius is like the universal friend. So if you're in a significant other situation with Aquarius, you have to keep in mind that Aquarius might at times let their friendships take precedence over you and over the situation in a love or romantic relationship, because they just really they often need to have their friends, and they will always give them a strong amount of time, or at least in many cases will give them a strong amount of time. Not necessarily, I don't think always, but in many instances they will do this. I think what's interesting is that you see Aquarians too sometimes have this unpredictable, outlandish behavior. Many of you may remember the infamous "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy, Andrew Meyer, has his moon in Aquarius. Wow, imagine that, right? He said something that was seen, not seen, was vulgar, profane, and people were taken aback by this, and many of you may know he was resisting arrest, and he was finally pinned to the ground and got tased. And the thing about it is, I think some of this may have had to do with his Aquarius moon, because Aquarius is a sign that could be unpredictable, and a lot of times you don't know what they're going to do. In an emergency too, Aquarius may not even be 100% aware of what he or she is going to do in an emergency or crisis situation. So, and one last thing, in some isolated cases, in extreme cases, Aquarius as a child, the mental disorder that would be associated with this strongly, I think, would be the oppositional defiant disorder. As far as Aquarius as a child, I could see children that have a sun, moon, or ascendant in Aquarius be more connected with this than any of the other signs. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the dark side of Aquarius. And stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about the dark side of Pisces. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.